So on the screen right now is a fabulous, colorful mural with so many symbols and so much energy and flow. If you're new to UU Amherst, you may not know that this mural is at the top of the stairs to our classroom wing. And you are officially invited to snoop around or ask a long timer, because you kind of need to stand in front of this whole wall of fabulous. And what it says is, we are Unitarian Universalist, and we contain multitudes, if I can borrow from Walt Whitman. This really is a wonderful church, congregation, gathering place. I've heard stories of friendships formed, life partners discovered, and parties that could make a preacher blush. And for me, as wonderful as they are, for me, they're just stories. Photographs in someone else's cherished album. Don't get me wrong. Those photographs, stories, and memories are sacred. We treasure them, and we learn from them. When I arrived 9.5 years ago, the edges of this community were frayed, like my stole, the mantle of ministry. 3 years of transitional ministry had not healed the wounds or the threat of schism. And it wasn't just the deferred maintenance of broken relationships. Our buildings were suffering from neglect, and I swear, on my first day on the job, one of the slate tiles on the roof from the mansion part plunged to the ground just inches from me. To my credit, even though I am a person who pays attention to signs and wonders, I did not turn around and drive home. Throughout the years, folks at the regional office advised me to be a Mary Poppins or a Nanny McPhee, and to bring some order to a system that wasn't too enthused about being a system, much less having to be orderly. So I did the only thing I knew how to do, and that was to talk endlessly about covenant. And then we created covenant groups, and then we got serious about creating our shared covenant, our sacred promise of how we would aspire to be with one another. You see, covenants are aspirational. They are sacred promises, but they're looking forward. Aspirational in that we know we don't have all the capacity yet to fulfill all the pieces, but we're going to work on it. One of the things I learned from Mary Poppins is that promises are important, and one should not make pie crust promises, easily made and easily broken. It took us 9 months, a full program year, to arrive at the words that we felt most clearly defined us and called us to our higher selves, individually and as a faith community. So I invite you, whether today is your first day or you have lost track of the years, I invite you to share these aspirational words with me. Together we promise to gather in compassionate community, to celebrate diversity of thought and unity of spirit, and to seek wholeness for ourselves, our children, and our world. I hope you can feel the quiet power in those few phrases. They call us to be our best selves and to do the inner work of our own wholeness, even as we open our hearts to one another. And throughout the wobbly years that preceded me in our first years together, through broken roof slates and pie crust promises, this community's commitment to social justice never wavered. Y'all did the hard work of attaining green sanctuary status. Oh, by the way, this labyrinth is one of 3 in our ecology center. It's probably harder to find right now because it's covered with leaves, but you can go back there and walk the approximation. It's a fabulous labyrinth. So y'all did the hard work of attaining green sanctuary status from the Unitarian Universalist Association. And that was arduous work, and it demanded a commitment of time, dollars, and physical labor. How many of y'all were around and involved in any way whatsoever with the Green Sanctuary Project? There we are. You don't have to be shy. Yes, it's okay. No, I'm not going to make you do something new. Yes, yay. Yes. And that's just a fraction of the people, because you just would not leave the list of things to accomplish to be called a Green Sanctuary congregation. The solar panels on the roof of the administrative and classroom wing are an ongoing reminder of what this congregation can do when vision and leadership inspire the group to do big things. And there have been moments that could have broken this congregation. The decision to put up a Black Lives Matter sign was not an easy one, and it was not unanimous. Although the vote achieved the supermajority to move forward, the fact remained that the supermajority was achieved by one vote. Those who remained opposed grumbled that one vote was not enough to move forward, and those who felt compelled to move forward noted that it was a 2/3 majority. And so we put up the sign, and then the sign was vandalized. So many were afraid that something terrible would happen, that the police would not respond to an emergency, that UU Amherst would be a target for hate and violence. And I know that there are some among us who still have that sharp taste in their mouths, some for putting up the sign in the first place, and others for not having a Black Lives Matter presence on the new electronic sign. After all, the congregation voted to have a sign. I point this out because it can be tempting to paint a milestone with glittery rainbows and only remember what was lovely, even when the loveliness might be some residue from our own rosy glasses. So what I want you to hear is that while there has been friendship, parties, and the satisfaction of doing good in the world, there have been times when the only thing that kept this congregation together was the shared commitment to remain in covenant, to let our sacred promise live in us and through us. Dissent need not be destructive. We've learned that. We value that. One of our core values as a faith community and as a national association and across the world is that democracy matters, and we uphold it. Yes, feel free. We will learn these lessons again and again, because democracy, having a voice, having input, being allowed to say, I don't think so, is part of who we are, and we celebrate that. And we borrow the words attributed to Francis David, who said, we need not think alike to love alike. Francis David lived in the mid-16th century. He was the advisor to King Sigismund of Transylvania. I know, isn't it awesome? Our roots go to Transylvania. And I managed to say Transylvania without sounding like Dracula, because sometimes I can't stop myself. But our roots go way, way back. Earlier I said that there are parts of our faith that are sort of uniquely American, or we thought were. But our faith goes, I won't take you down the history tour, but just know it goes way back. And Francis David lived at a time in Transylvania where two religions were allowed, Catholicism and Lutheranism. And he advised the king, King John, that there ought not to be any boundaries around people's faith. And he in particular said, how about we add Unitarianism and then add to that an edict of tolerance that says who and what you believe is your business. I paraphrase that. That's really not what he said. But we do believe that we need not think alike to love alike. whether that's within these walls or out in the wider community. When our Black Lives Matter sign was defaced, members of clergy in the immediate Williamsville area reached out, and we decided that this was something we could all come together about. We need not think alike to love alike. And so we made up lawn signs, and they passed them out in their congregations, and we passed them out here. They were all over the community. And I just can't tell you the tickle in my whole body every time I would drive past one of those signs and be like, I love it. Sometimes you can still see at North Presbyterian, they will put it on their roadside sign. Because what better way to talk about an interfaith community, a web of commitment and compassion? Ellen?
I'm wondering, is this after the George Floyd killing? Because there was rioting and
yes,
marches and stuff, and I think that's what polarized all of us.
Yes, and for our online folks who may not hear that, it was just asked if the defacing of the Black Lives Matter sign and the subsequent really good reaction of "we need not think alike" was came to being out of the George Floyd killing. Thank you. Oh, Michelle, you're so grim today. Woo, we came this morning hoping for a party, maybe just a pat on the head and an affirmation that we are good and faithful servants to the cause of humanity and to saving the planet. And you're right. We need some perspective. Which feels like a fine time to go down another history route and invoke the words of American author, historian, and Unitarian minister, Edward Everett Hale. He lived between 1822 and 1909, meaning he was well into adulthood during the American Civil War. He served as the chaplain of the United States Senate from 1903 until his death. And I wonder what kind of guidance that he gave to that fractious branch of government, having lived through a time of deep division and polarization in this country. He wrote, "I am only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do." Those words so often inspire us to action, and right now they seem so naive in light of the present moment. I mean, at Hale's death in 1909, there were just 1.6 billion people on the planet. So maybe then an individual could hope to make a difference. But now, current estimates put the world population at 8.2 billion, with a projection of over 10 billion when this congregation celebrates its 120th anniversary in 50 years. So this is what my brain says. One singular effort is a drop in a bucket, of a bucket, of a bucket, ad infinitum. And individual change is important. Congregational change is important, but we need sweeping change. Imagine, for those of you who have a soft spot in your heart for the abolition of plastic, the abolishment of plastic. Wow, yeah. You can drop your cell phones and your hearing aids in the basket at the back of the church. Don't forget your pacemakers. Everything's plastic. So now imagine what that looks like when you get home. Ugh, what has to go? I'm going to miss having pens with ink already in them, windshield wipers, snow brushes, fleece blankets. Do your kids or grandkids have toys? Pretty much anything that's not a wooden block or a faceless rag doll is going to have to go. No plastics. And even if we manage to halt the production of everything made of plastic, what to do about the mountains of it that already exist? And how do we stop the next Dr. Evil who invents the next version of plastic that skirts around some laws and some aspects of how it's made, refilling our homes and landfills and oceans with the toxic stuff that makes life so darn convenient? Oh my goddess, we are in so much trouble. So, you know I'm not going to leave you there, right? I have to take you there and now help you out. So I think back to the early 1990s, lifetimes ago, when I was one of a few people in the grocery store with my own canvas bags. I felt self-conscious and imagined others noting and whispering words like hippie, or worse, granola. Granola, that was meant to say something like you live in a commune and eat roots and berries. And now everybody brings their bags to the store. Well, not everybody. The paper bags have returned. We had a moment of inviting people to rise with Edward Everett Hale, to commit to doing the something we could do. I'm only one, but still I am one. I'm only one, but still I am one. On Wednesday morning, I took down my Harris sign. I could not bear the thought of passersby scoffing at what they might call a loser, and that I saw as a valiant warrior against the tide of inhumanity in the form of, really the list is much too long, but Project 2025 comes to mind. I still haven't listened to Harris's concession speech. I can't, although I hear it was inspiring. I took down the sign, but I left up my flag. But it might not be the one you're thinking of. This is outside my house, and the flag is a diversity flag. I'm pretty sure that my house is the only one in my extended neighborhood, let's call that, I don't know, Erie County, with a flag like this one. And I know that there are other subversive flags out there. I see you, and I celebrate with you. It takes a lot of courage, depending where you live and how you represent in the world. And I wonder, because I really like this flag, it's all colorful. It might be wearable. It's not the same flag, it's just the same design. But what would it be like to have something out in the wider community, kind of everywhere you go, that clearly spells out our values of kindness, peace, equality, love, inclusion, hope, and diversity, just springing up everywhere, as ubiquitous as the stars and stripes? Sure, when there are just a few, we're the weirdos. But when they show up all over, like dandelions, then it becomes a movement. So as a disclaimer, I did not create this flag. I do not get any residuals from the people who made the flag. I just really like it. And I ask you, whether it's this or something else that brings that subversive element into people's lives, that element of we need not think alike to love alike, that element of diversity is good, it beautifies the pattern. Wouldn't it be fun to gift the people that you're going to give holiday gifts to anyways? Something like that. Spread those little dandelion seeds out in the community. I'm loving it. I don't know if dandelion seeds, I don't know anything. But I do know that we could start a movement, and why not? Why not? So, what would you wish for as we blow out the 70 candles on the cake of our birthday celebration? Would you wish for more love? Would you wish for more hope, more peace? Those are my wishes for you, for us, and for those who will come after us. May we know more love.